Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you all doing? I'm just gonna see whether we can. So Christopher is unmuted, Ellen is unmuted. So we're just gonna mute everybody from now on, and then I'm going to unmute you again because I don't want new people to come in and be unmuted. So let me do that. Okay, this is great. So from now on, people who are coming in cannot be unmuted. So thank you, Kris, for being with us. So, and I just want to say this is very interactive. We actually have quite a few questions coming in via my WhatsApp. So if you can type in your question in the chat, we will be able to ask your questions live to Kris. Wow, a lot of different questions.
That's good.
I'm gonna forward one to you, Ellen. Maybe you can listen to it and because I can read, but I'm not able to hear. So there's two that I'm forwarding to you that are voicemails. You're going to be bombarded with questions, Kris. Okay. And so please post your questions in the chat. Don't be shy. You can also say, this is not about me. This is about somebody else. But I have this question. You know, that's the way a lot of people actually ask questions. Yes. Oh, you can't hear me. Kris cannot hear us. Can anybody hear me? Can you hear me? Cannot. Okay. I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself again, Kris. So other people can hear me. Okay, we're just gonna look at the glitch. Thank you for your patience. And be specific. I mean, a lot of diagnosis is about autoimmune disease. So like when you're listening to Kris talk about the method, you will be able to, I think, be more clear about what it is that you could be doing, or, you know, because we've asked some really in-depth questions because I've been working with the method since 2013. So for 7 years now. So I know a lot about how our mind and our emotions, trapped emotions, are creating, you know, the distress in our body and in our lives, in many areas of our lives. So if you know, it's if you ask a very generic question, it might, you know, you might get a very generic answer. Whereas if you know the method and you've been doing it, but there's something you're struggling with, you know, post that question, because it's the more specific it can be, the better it can be. So we're just waiting for Kris. So if you would like to, if you have a generic question that you, okay. So I think you're, Okshala, I don't know your name. It's basically what I think maybe the best thing for you to do, because I don't know whether you know the method, is to listen to Kris explain what he is teaching us about how the method works and how we create reality, how our consciousness is interacting with reality, and how there's this feedback about how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive what's going on. And then how that then starts to loop back into symptoms and things in our world. So, so it's gonna be about the pictures you create, the emotions you feel, and how effective you are in witnessing them and observing them, and also to be able to release them out of your body and to quiet your mind, because you do this consistently. So you do no longer identify with the picture of I have this disease, and you no longer identify with the bodily distress that is caused by the disease. When you can do that, you're releasing, you're identifying with a higher self, or the, you know, the inner being, or the beingness as they call it. And then you start to be able to see what you're doing. So I think there's a few steps that Kris will explain as to how we keep on perpetuating a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis, or anything in life. It could be, you know, monetary problems, you know, issues with relationships, beating up on yourself, or whatever. So let's see whether Kris, let me ask him on WhatsApp. Okay. I'm trying to unmute. Yeah, I unmuted you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
I
Kris is
wrote
not
down
on
the
yet,
question from Matthias, and Runa's is more of a sharing, so I think we'll skip that one.
Okay.
So we'll wait for Kris to come back. Yeah. Yay, there he is.
Oh, hi, Sally. So Sally, maybe log out as Okchala, and then just be Sally. That's Kris, we're gonna unmute you. Let's see, it's not unmuting him. Yes, Kris, we're hearing you. Can you hear us? Let's to start video.
I don't know if you could hear me, Angelique.
Yes.
Yes,
I can't
we
hear
can.
you, unfortunately. I can't hear anything. I've got other audio from my computer, but I just upgraded my Zoom this morning and something's out of whack. So let me get onto another computer.
Yeah, because we
right
hear you
back.
perfectly. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, wonderful. So maybe we can have a chat. How many people here are actually students of the release technique? So, or the Lester Levinson method, or the power of quiet? Because I think it really makes a difference when you actually you are an advanced student, because the teachings are quite deep. I mean, I wouldn't say really this technique is easy. And on one hand, it's super easy once you know it, because it's like a teaching, and it's like such an in-depth teaching that makes complete sense, and you feel the difference within like minutes sometimes, right, Ellen?
I would say it's simple, but not easy. I would say it's pretty straightforward. You know what to do, but doesn't mean it's easy to, first of all, continue to do it. And second of all, understand the deep teachings behind it that are indeed quite deep. But the process is quite simple, yeah.
And actually, it isn't deep, because actually what it is saying is that we are not the body and we're not the mind. But we keep identifying with the body and the mind. And so the mind is telling us, you suck, you are broke, you are sick. And the body is saying, oh, I feel horrible, I feel broke, I feel this and that. And then we identify with it. And so what the release technique is teaching us is that we are not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the thoughts we think, we're not the body, we're not the environment that's telling us what is going on in our life. We actually created it by observing it, and by judging it, and by identifying with it. And so judging it is resisting it. And so what the release technique, or the Lester Levinson method, is teaching us is to disidentify with it, and to just let go of the let go of the thoughts first. Don't no longer engage with the thoughts, because the thoughts are just like coming from a recording machine, coming from programs, and a lot of you know what programs are. They're unconscious thoughts and habits that keep you safe, that make you stay in survival mode. And we know what happens when we stay in survival mode. We create a lot of cortisol, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of stress hormones that make us think that it's not safe to be in repair mode of our body, okay? Because our body is very intelligent in repairing itself. And so when we first start to let go of our thoughts, we park them, and we just notice what we call releasing from the neck down, we start to realize how much pent up energy, that was the word you were using, Ellen, how much pent up stressful energy we have in our body, in the areas in our lives where we are not happy. So this could be any area, not just health, but in health, this is physical manifestation of the amount of stress that we have been, you know, gathering up over years and years and years of identifying with outer circumstances, identifying with our crazy programs, identifying with a diagnosis, Googling the diagnosis, you know, putting lots and lots of money into maybe trying to heal and cure with medicine or supplements or I don't know what, and never ever looking at the cause, which is how the energy in our body and how the thoughts we think is always telling the body, this is what you are. So every time we think a stressful thought, and every time we are repressing negative emotion, the body is holding on to that and creating so much stress and creating more of the same. And so the release technique is just teaching us to let go of it and to really a very simple way to viscerally and physically release the energy out of our body, so that you automatically start to notice that you feel lighter, you feel less perturbed, you feel less resistance, you feel less in survival. And from that moment onwards, you start to notice that the pictures that you're creating are less stressful, they're less dangerous, they're less about how your body is in danger, or how you suck, or how you're never gonna heal this. The more you release, the more you find that the pictures you think are more soothing, they're more positive. You are accessing more of your inner wisdom, and that is in a very simple explanation how the releasing works. But what I feel, what happens, and we asked Kris some really good questions, I think a lot of people still come from wanting, meaning I want to heal. And then the reverse, I don't want this disease. I don't want this financial situation. I don't want this stress. I don't want this cancer diagnosis. I don't want this diabetes, whatever it is. And release technique is saying that whenever we're judging something, whenever resisting something, we are creating a picture of it's still here. I'm resisting it. It's still here. Why is it still here? This picture of the disease, the financial situation, myself being in a specific environment. Why am you keep resisting it? So you keep creating that picture, you keep adding energy to it, and you keep on creating it. So release technique is teaching us how to release the emotion, how to really release the emotion, so that the picture suddenly evaporates. The picture becomes a different picture. So this it's very much making us aware of how we are using the faculties of the mind, and it's so super powerful. Trying to unmute Kris again. Hi, Kris.
I can hear you now.
Oh, so none of us are updating our Zoom then, because every time there's an update, there's a problem. I've noticed. Cancel, clear, delete. Yeah. Last time it happened, I think a lot of people had Zoom problem. That was like, I think a few months ago, or maybe last year. Anyways, it's good you're here.
Yeah, good to be with you again.
Yes, and we already have so many questions.
Hey, Ellen.
Hello.
We have quite a few questions of a lot of people. And so we're going to see what people have here. So Kris, we sent you some questions, right? And I
Uh-huh.
think one of it was assuming that people know the method. What would you say is somebody is struggling with their health or their weight or their appearance or whatever is the diagnosis? What are they doing to create what they don't want? Maybe just explain that first and then how the method is working.
Yeah.
So how are we creating what we don't want?
Okay, so first of all of the masters have told us that we are creating our reality all the time. You know, all the masters have demonstrated this through one way or the other. Some of them just by demonstrating miracles. And it wasn't to show how wonderful they were, but to demonstrate, I can do this and you can do this too. So the best way to describe what's going on and why we have such difficulty creating what we want and getting results that we don't want is that this mind that we have, that we created, it works just like a computer. And if you have a virus in your computer and you don't remove the virus, it doesn't matter what programs or data that you put into the computer, all of it will get corrupted unless you take the virus out. And so we hear people talk about the law of attraction, holding in mind what you want, picturing, having good health, for example. But if you have all of these viruses in there, and how did these viruses get in there? All the times in the past when we suppressed our feelings, when we had a fear and we didn't let the fear go. We push that fear down into our subconscious and it runs just like a virus and it affects our health, it affects our finances, our relationships, everything. And the problem is that most of the teachers, well, they're talking about the right thing, that you are creating everything. You just have to be aware of what you're holding in mind. But most of us don't realize that we have a lot of subconscious thoughts of limitation, of negativity. And until we remove those things, we could place these pictures on there, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. We got to go in and remove that deep, deep negativity. Then it's easy to change that picture, and it changes instantly and effortlessly. But it's effort if we have those viruses still.
And I think a lot of, and Ellen might, and a lot of us know it here, there are some law of attraction teachings that say, don't think about what you want. Don't think about what you don't want. Don't think about what you don't want because you're going to create it. And then we're so fearful of thinking about it. But actually what we're then doing is this thing where we actually, our cup is full with the negativity, as you said it, the limiting beliefs with the virus. And then we're trying to not ignore the virus. Oh, I'm feeling this distress. I'm feeling I can't do it. I don't even believe in this law of attraction. Works for other people, but not for me. And definitely does not work for my disease because my disease is so extremely different. And then they basically do these affirmations, meditation, hypnosis, supplements, I don't know what type of healing. But there's so much identification running subconsciously because it's like the body is an unconscious machine. It's running on that. And I think the power of the release technique is look at those programs. Look at what you're actually fearing. Look at what you're trying to change. Look at what you're picturing all the time. And that's why, I think whenever I now look at law of attraction, if they're not talking about clearing up the garbage, I think, well, that's going to be a hard, long way. Because I felt, and I've seen it, when you clear up the garbage, you start to understand that your limiting beliefs are absolutely toxic. And they are garbage. And my God, how many garbage thoughts do I think a day? A lot.
Lots.
And it's really about identifying them and no longer taking them seriously and making them that such a big deal.
You're right. Now, I want to just go back to one thing that you said, this approach of don't think about this bad thing.
Yeah.
See, that's another mistake that we make because we don't understand how the mind works.
Yeah.
But if I say don't fall down, what do you get a picture of? Falling down. Or don't think of an elephant. What happens? You just go right to a picture of an elephant, even though I said don't think of that. Yeah. So the mind only deals in pictures. It doesn't process the words not or don't. It just goes right to that picture, and that's what we create. So all the time we're saying, don't think of this illness. Don't think of this illness. What are we doing? We're holding the illness in mind. And we have such an aversion to it. We're trying to run away from it. And that's what we're doing with the affirmations. We're using them as an escape. And we're not escaping anything. We're taking that with us wherever we go. We're not even realizing what we're doing. So, like you said, we got to clear out the negativity and not just say, dismiss it, but go to the root of it and pull it out. And that's what these tools that Lester Levinson, who is a great master, has given us. They're very simple and practical, just to go right to the root of the problem, pull it out, and then all the feelings, all the negativity just disappears when we do that.
Because we have to remember that Lester was given 1 month, right, to live.
Mm-hmm. See, yeah, and that's what got him started in discovering who he was. See, he was a very successful person, and he knew a lot. He was a physicist, he's an engineer. He'd studied everything: mathematics, physics, medicine, psychiatry. He was interested in what makes us tick, what the world is all about, who we are. But he was trying to understand it through the mind. And eventually he got to a place where he had a second major heart attack in his early 40s. And the doctors, they just sent him home to die. And so he went home and he said to himself, literally, Lester, you're stupid, stupid, stupid. You spend all your time studying all this information and it got you nowhere, just to where you're a dead man. Mm-hmm. So being a scientist, he said, well, if this formula isn't working, let's throw it out and start from scratch. And that's where he just started to examine his life. And he saw that all the times when he was healthy and happy, his relationships were good and his businesses were prosperous, he was loving. He wasn't thinking about anything in return for it. He was just giving love. Whereas all the times when he was sick, his businesses were losing, his relationships were bad, he was wanting love out there from others, from the world. So he saw that all that neediness, all that wanting was causing all of his problems, causing his illnesses. He felt it in his body. So he felt it in a way that he said, well, let me just let go of this negative feeling, bring it up and just dump it. And he didn't even know what he was doing. He was just kind of following this bouncing ball. And it led him in 1 month's time to completely cure his body. And it wasn't just a heart attack. He had perforated ulcers. He was jaundiced several times a year. He had every allergy you could think of. He had skin problems, all sorts of stuff. All of it disappeared.
The issue is nowadays we think, oh, skin problem, we have to see this dermatologist. Oh, this jaundice, this is a different diagnosis. This is all autoimmune. Actually, maybe the cause is just how we are creating all the stress in our body, and then one thing happens, it collapses the whole system, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing is also important is that when we use the scale of consciousness, and from David Hawkins, which is taught in the method, David Hawkins was a student of Lester. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us are Dr. Joe students, and we study with other teachers, but actually what we now know is that the higher we go in consciousness, so the more we're closer to peace, and especially if we go into courage, and then we go into acceptance, willingness, reason, love, joy, peace, oneness, the more that we go into these higher levels of consciousness, which is a really high frequency, we actually become more in tune with the force, with the power of the force of love, or whatever you want to call it. But that force is part of us, and it really helps us heal ourselves and other people. Yeah. But if we are in those lower states of consciousness of lacking, oh, I hate my body. Oh, I'm so sad. I hate my body is sick, or I'm broke, or somebody doesn't love me, or I'm grieving. And we don't actually realize that it's just one program we're running. It's not even who we are.
Yeah. And
And
the program is the
yeah,
mind. All that stuff
yes,
that you just said right there, that's all mental stuff. We're listening to our
yes,
mind. It's
yeah.
complaining, it's criticizing, it's judging.
Nobody loves me. I can't heal this. Nobody has healed this before.
Yeah.
Blah
As long as
blah.
you listen to that voice, then that's what you get. And what you're saying, uh, I was just listening to a video from Eckhart Tolle. He's talking about spiritual healing. He said exactly that. People are asking, well, how do you heal spiritually? And he just said, well, basically, when you get into a higher consciousness, your body corrects itself. It just gets naturally healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Alan, what were the contributions of some of the people who have become students as well from Kris? Maybe you.
You mean the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, first a question arose for me, if I can ask that first, Kris. You were saying that Lester Levinson realized that it was wanting and desire that was creating the disease. I was wondering, because you've released so much, that you can sense when your general state is probably being imperturbable, assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And do you now strongly feel whenever something arises because you have already reached a certain level? Like, do you easily realize when there's a wanting or desire coming up?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the more you release, especially when you start removing this stuff, because when you start releasing this garbage, every bit that you let go of permanently. So as you're using the method, bit by bit, your mind is getting quieter and quieter all the time. Another way of looking at it is like you meditate, but instead of having a session of meditation, by going this direction, using this method, you're eliminating the stuff that's creating the noise to begin with. So you just naturally fall into a meditative state. And when your mind is quieter, you can more easily discriminate and see where your ego is running, where the desire is. You just spot it, and you're able to discern and say, oh, that's just wanting. That's unnatural. You can just drop it faster and faster. So the more you use the method, it's like a skill. The better you get at it, and the easier it gets to just see the stuff and drop it.
And also, I think
that leads to the.
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
I just want to
question,
say. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think the most important thing is what I learned from the release technique is, which took me years, and I will tell you, this took me years because I've been studying this for 2013, is that we are not our body and we're not our mind. We are so much more. And we keep on holding to the identity of, oh, my mind is telling me this. My identity is this. I have this disease. I have this condition. Actually, we are none of those. We cannot even fathom who we are. That is, and that is, I think, now that I'm studying again, it's like, that is our biggest fear. Like, if I'm nothing, or if I'm this beingness, what am I then? But that's just another side philosophical question. And I think this is where people who have, if you identify with any condition, or even if you identify with who you think you are, that is where that's where it gets hard. That's what I just wanted to say from my years and years of doing this technique.
Yeah. And one of the talks that Lester gave that we refer to a lot because it's very powerful. It's very insightful about how we're creating everything.
Yeah.
And he mentions in this that the mind will never understand God or God's self. It has no ability to fathom it whatsoever. And we try to understand who we are through the mind. And we do this on the spiritual path. And we read a bunch of books, we listen to speakers, and we absorb it intellectually. But as good as that intellectual information sounds to us, it's not the truth. It can't understand what it is. The only way to really understand it is to experience it firsthand. It's like, one of my favorite masters is Amma, the hugging saint. Mm-hmm. And she put it best when she talks about this realization of the self. It's like writing the word honey on a piece of paper and then trying to lick it to get the taste of honey. you know, you can't get it from that. And that's exactly what we're doing when we're trying to understand it intellectually. So the thing is to drop the mind, go beyond it,
Drop
to
our
realize that
identity.
we cannot understand who we are.
No, and that's so scary at the same time so liberating.
But it's a process of elimination.
Yeah.
If you let go of the mind, you let go of the body. Who are you if you're not the mind, you're not the body?
You're not who you think you are. You're not even your name.
You have no body, you have no face, you have no name, you have no story. Because all that stuff is questionable. But what is unquestionable is the simple fact that you exist. That's the only thing that you cannot argue with, is the fact that you are. Mm-hmm. Your beingness. That's the only thing that does not change. All those other stories, the body, all that stuff changes. And if it changes, how true can it be?
Ellen, I'm dying to know what our geniuses have to ask or to say.
I have one question, and they're not multiple questions. I've received one from those 2 voice messages. So one is from Matthias, and he asks, how do you, so just for people who maybe haven't taken a course with Kris, is that you release on goals. So Matthias was in the course, and he released on goals, and his question about that is, how do I know when I've released enough on a goal, even though it hasn't come in my life yet? So how does he know? Yeah.
Well, you keep releasing until it comes in. That's how you know. It's not what you say, it's what you can prove, what you can demonstrate. Mm-hmm. So, and I went over this in the course, and I can work with Matthias directly, just see where he's at. But basically, yeah, you have to take responsibility. If you aren't creating it, then look within yourself. Just get nice and quiet and say, where am I not creating this? And usually you'll see that there's still some lingering desire. Got to have it. Got to prove it to myself. Or it's just some thought in there. A thought of, well, where is it? Or it hasn't happened yet. And that's just still a lingering thought. You got to eliminate it. Get totally quiet, totally peaceful. And then you'll see, you can create it like that.
So Bruno was asking the same thing. He was like thinking about it, and he said, how do I become imperturbable even if my mind doesn't recognize the big change? Meaning I'm waiting to see the big shift in my life, and I don't just want the happiness. And this is still the wanting, right? Still the wanting, the manifestation more than, I think, identifying with I already have it, even if this doesn't manifest. And I think this is the shift from I am a human being trying to manifest something externally to I am beingness that is one with everything. I am health, I am wealth, I am peace, and I'm even death, and I'm even destruction. Even if those happen, I am okay. And this is where I think this manifestation stuff is really making people lose the plot, is when they say, I need to manifest this, otherwise I am still doing something wrong. I think when you start to shift the focus to your identity piece, and you are realizing I am divine, I am consciousness, I'm one with everything, I can embody the state of health, I can embody the state of wealth, I can even embody the state of disease and suffering and lack and judgment, then you know how powerful you are. And then when I think you make that shift, it's more about who you are becoming and what you are embodying as a divine expression, rather than I am this human being trying to manifest these things. What am I doing wrong? So I think Kris has to come on again. I think he was talking about his internet connection when we spoke to him the other day, right? Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, and right. I'm just gonna check the chats. I think sometimes people are also at the Facebook live stream. They're asking lots of questions, but we can't really read their questions.
No.
So when you're on the Facebook live stream, go to the Facebook event and then come into the Zoom, because we cannot read your questions. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to read questions on Facebook while we're on Zoom. Okay, Kris.
Okay, so I got the gist of your question before I dropped off.
I'm still wanting it. I don't but just want to be happy, Kris, and feel lighter.
Well, that's a trick. And it goes back to how the ego does not understand, to be beyond the mind and ego, to be in a place of desirelessness. Because the mind and ego are 100% about desire. The mind is a wanting machine. So it can't comprehend what it's like to be completely desireless, and it distrusts it. I've seen all the graduates way back to Lester's time always fight with him about this, because he would say, well, if you let go of wanting anything, you'll have everything. And people are like, well, you want me to give up? You're tricking me to drop my desire, saying that I'm going to get all this stuff. But then when I'm desireless, I won't want any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'll be a monk.
Yeah. And Lester's like, no, I didn't. I didn't say that at all.
But it's still my fear, Kris. I have that fear. It's like, am I going to be like a nun or a monk? No way.
Yeah. But see, this is the stuff you got to challenge. And if you really want to be a master, you got to challenge these things. So this approach, it is not for wimps. This is for strong people that are willing to challenge their mind, challenge their feelings, to not run away from their negativity, but confront it, bring it up, lay it all out on the table, and then drop it. And
That's
you'll see
why
that
courage
none
is
of
so
it was
important.
real to begin with.
That's why courage is so important, because a lot of the time we are in a trance. We're literally in a trance. We're hypnotized by these feelings of, I cannot do it. It's not going to happen for me. I'm so pitiful. When is the next savior or next technique going to help me? Actually, we can do it. But this is the thing where when we step into courageousness, we have to go to, I can, I will, but not at the expense of, as a servant of the ego, which is still feeling lack, I think. And this is the big trap. And even I'm like in that. And we need to catch ourselves all the time.
Yeah. And you said it. We're literally letting our ego boss us around. We're a servant to it.
Yeah.
And we think that it makes us happy. We think that these things that we
If
enjoy
I have
in the world
this,
make us happy. Good
Yeah.
food, sex, whatever. Like, oh, I gotta have it.
The approval,
but as long
the
as
safety.
we're a slave to it, we're actually miserable. We are. And we don't realize the joy that we feel when we like have these things. Like if we have a sexual experience, like an orgasm, it's like one of the best things that we can experience, right? Well, what's so great about it? Notice that in the moment you have an orgasm. Are you thinking about your meeting the next day? Are you thinking about your to-do list or what you have to go shopping for? Are you thinking about some person that you had a fight with? No, you're just there in the moment. Your mind's quiet because for that moment, you satisfied a desire. So it's no longer seeking something. It's just quiet. And that's where that happiness is. And unfortunately, we attribute it to the other one. Oh, they did it for me. But it's just, we got nice and quiet. And the same thing when we have a big accomplishment or we get some nice, shiny new toy. We're happy for a moment, but it doesn't last. Then we start getting disgruntled again and start going back into the old patterns. Just an endless loop. You cannot satisfy desire. You only string yourself along. But when you recognize that all of your happiness only happens from quieting your mind, then you'll go for just having a quiet mind and you get to be happy all the time.
And having a quiet mind is actually being in the present moment and not being in the story or the label or the, this is bad, this is good, this means I failed, this means I'm succeeding, and this constant having to, analyze things. And I think a lot of, some of the teachers that we work with, they say, when you're in analysis, you're not in appreciation. When you're in analysis, you're in a program. You just become unconscious. And so, but I think the mind is so powerful, such a powerful machine. I mean, even those of us who've been doing the method for years or meditating and doing lots of other techniques, even we still have to be alert to, what am I listening to right now? Who is talking? Who is telling my body to be upset right now? You know, who is triggering me? Oh, I'm watching the news. What if he's reacting? And I think it's really cultivating that absolute awareness of what in us is responding, what in us is doing the thinking, what in us is feeling. Is it the program, or is it the observer in us that can actually say, wait a minute, before I go down that route of firing all these stress hormones, I'm just going to take a step back. I'm just going to say, wait, what am I thinking? What am I holding in mind? What am I trying to change? What am I trying to control? You know, and instead of going into this quiet place, which is the present moment, where other solutions come up, where other answers come up that are probably much more helpful than what the mind, who is just in survival, freak out, panic, you know, try and judge people, tell them to change, not you, tell them to change, take this medicine, whatever, you know. It's a bit of a crazy thing, but this is what we're doing every day.
Yeah, and these programs run deep.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long, long time, and there's been so much of it for lifetimes that so much of it is purely subconscious, which just means we don't know that it's there. All the subconscious is just thoughts and stories, decisions that we made in the past that we forgot about, but they're still in there and they're still running for lifetimes. So the best thing about this method is that it gives us tools, not just the tools of letting go, but tools to dig into the subconscious, to go in there, pull out the stuff so we can see it, you know, even old stuff, and drop it. And see, some people, they're looking for like a quick fix, looking for like some guru to come and tap them on the head, you know, take away all their stuff, you know, all their programs. And even people that do this method, you know, they don't like doing these exercises. Oh, I'd rather just sit and listen to a meditation. You know, I do like these cleanups and meditations and the classes, you know, that we can get a real deep experience. And it's good to get the experience. But if you really want the lasting results, you got to use the tools of digging, do the exercises, like working on goals. And, you know, a lot of us, admittedly, also myself, we're very lazy. We don't want to do all these exercises. We don't want to do the work. But that's where you could really dig up all the stuff from the past. So all the tools are here. You know, we just got to use it.
We just have to want it enough, and sometimes it's just crisis that makes us need to do it instead of wanting to do it. Anna is here. Anna has a question, and she has about, you know, what do you think the most common emotions, trapped emotions, or what is it, types of thoughts for people who are, you know, who want this perfect beach body, and how many layers do we have to work on to really create a healthy relationship with food and to be imperturbable? I mean, this is a big question. This could be about anything. This could be about money. This could be about everything.
Yeah, well, first, with wanting the perfect beach body, you know, a lot of it is just wanting ego approval, wanting others to admire us, to acknowledge how good we look, you know, we want to look attractive. So this wanting approval, see, want is lack. You wouldn't want approval unless already in your mind you have this feeling that you don't have it, and a feeling that you're lacking it already right now. And every bit that you want it, you're reinforcing that lack. You're going in the wrong direction. So the first step is to let go of wanting approval, where you give yourself approval. And again, you know, there's lots of people that, you know, they talk about body positivity, appreciating yourself and all that stuff, right? And again, that's doing it through the mind. That's why they kind of do it in a screwed up way. But if you let go of the wanting, that you let go of the negativity,
The emotions,
you've had it all along. And that appreciation it's natural. You see, a lot of these people, you see, like, was it, you know, that super plus size model, Tess, whatever, you know, that's on, you know, the cover of the magazines, you know, finding the big body. not that there's anything wrong with that, but she's doing it in the wrong way. Because it's like, well, look how great I am. See, it's attached to a story. Whereas when you're truly, purely loving yourself, there's no story with it whatsoever. I don't love myself because my body's great or because I'm a great person. I just love myself just because.
For
That's
no
it,
reason.
right? And that's pure love. That's unconditional love. It's with no strings attached, no stories.
And letting go of stories is hard for people, I think. That's pretty damn hard in 3D world here, in this like reality. And I think at the same time,
But it is doable.
I just want to reiterate what I've come to realize, and Ellen, you just let me know if you have any other insights. Is this wanting stuff? We will always keep on wanting, but I think the biggest aim to go for, in terms of the biggest goal that will actually get you everything, is to what some call alignment, but you know, the method that you use calls it imperturbability, but it's this state of non-attachment, because you actually realize you are everything. You are already everything. You already have everything. You can create everything once you realize you are it. You are not separate from it. You are everything. You can embody the states of health by letting go of a lot of negativity and just be returning back to the source of who we are. But it takes so much releasing and work, and really doing it day by day by day before I feel it becomes more natural. Because before it's like just an intellectual concept. It's like, I understand it, but I don't feel it. And I definitely don't like embody it, you know? So it takes quite a lot of dismantling of the programs.
Yeah, initially so. See, initially it takes effort to undo the effort. But eventually we realize how much effort we are now putting into all of this stuff, putting into our mind and the way that we're living right now. And when we actually let it go, we laugh because we're like, look at what a joke I was playing on myself. I was making all of this effort all along, and it's just a bunch of nothing. It never happened. It was like a dream. You wake up from a dream, like you're in a nightmare, and you wake up, oh, it was just a dream. It never happened. And that's the way it is. You see, it takes no effort, ultimately, just to be yourself. It takes a lot of effort to identify with the body and all of these stories. So we think that those stories and the body, it makes us happy. But as Lester put it, for every ounce of pleasure that we get through the body and through the world, we get pounds of pain. We get pounded with pain. And we don't realize it until we actually see the other side and go, whoa, gee, it's been here all along.
And it is so double, because on the one hand, we say, give up all your wanting, give up identification with the body and the human form. And at the other time, we say, actually, when you let go, you can have it all. Like, and I always keep on saying to people, you know, look at Kris, what he created, like, you know, the money coming from nowhere, so-called nowhere, you know, and also, you know, getting all the downloads, but also changing your smoking addiction, losing weight, you know, also changing your relationships with women, changing your relationship with your sister. And I mean, I think those are, to me, it's really about, what do we accept as reality? Do we accept that reality is something imposed upon us? Or do we actually believe that we are that powerful that we can affect other people? We can affect our body instantly, but we first need to take back that power, even if we've never demonstrated to ourselves. We look at the masses and say, if they've done it, I can do it. And then we do the work. But and the work is not about changing the world. The work is not about like wanting to change the world. The work is challenging ourselves with a lot of love, not with judgment, not saying, hey, you stupid person, why didn't you do this and that? No, welcome it with love, bring it up with love, and say, I love you, you know, which is really quite new when you're not in this technique. Most of the time we hear that voice and we say, why is that voice still here? Why am I still not healed yet? Yeah. So
we have a question from Runa. I find sometimes while releasing that I have no answers. So what do I do?
I don't know. What answers is he looking for?
What answers, Runa?
I actually came up with an amazing question, Kris. Alan and Gabriella and I, we are like really studying a lot of Neville Goddard. Basically, they say everything is your picture, which is also what Lester would say. Everything is your picture. Everybody is you. And so our question is, could you, let's say you are a mother and you have a child that's sick, could we, by releasing on ourselves as the parent or a caretaker, help the other person heal?
Yeah, that's a great question. But first of all, I just want to address Runa real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main thing is don't release to look for something. Really release to look for nothing. That's something that you can always be focused on, is getting to a place where your mind is quiet. Because you notice every time you release, your mind gets a little bit quieter. You feel lighter. So if you focus on that, just that alone, I'm not releasing to get an answer. I'm just releasing to be imperturbable, to not be bothered by anything, to have a quiet mind. That's something that's measurable. That's something that you could definitely set as a target and move towards. If you just target yourself towards that and only focus on that, and then just let the answers come whenever they come, then you can't go wrong taking that approach.
And those answers come from a different place. They come from what we call the quantum field, and the pure facts. But it's a very loving knowing instead of another theory or another judgment about reality.
Yeah, it's just like intuition. It just comes to you like that, like an answer.
Yeah.
Boom. Where did that come from?
Yeah. And it didn't come from our mind.
Yeah,
came from something that's bigger than our mind, which is what we're also part of, but what we're not used to tune into. And we actually almost need to learn it again when we're in this human form.
Yeah. Now back to your question.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, we're responsible for ourselves. Every one of us is an unlimited being.
Yes.
So, we can't fix somebody else, or they can fix themselves. They are in a limited consciousness. They have to take care of themselves. But we do affect and influence each other. We feel each other. We, like when we meet somebody, we get a sense, we get a good vibe about them or a bad vibe about them, right? And like as a mother, we have a program, most mothers, that says I have to worry about my children. Right? It's like a default thing.
Ellen, are you listening?
When you become a mother,
I should call my mom. Yes.
But if we look and ask ourselves, well, did I like it when my mother worried about me? No, hell no, right? We're like, ugh. See, it goes to that picture that we're holding in mind. The mind only deals in pictures. So if you're worried about your children, what are you picturing in your mind? That they're in danger, that they're at risk, that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, that's not
that
loving.
Picture in mind.
Yeah.
When you're worrying, it's a very negative picture.
This could apply to the world. We're worrying about the world. We're worried about whatever's going on in the collective right now.
Yeah. And Eckhart Tolle put it best when he asked, have you ever worried yourself out of a problem? And so when you're worried about your children, you're imposing that picture on them. They're picking it up. They're like, get away from me with that. Right? So, and also like if somebody is like they're a victim, woe is me, I have all these problems. And then you come along and you go, oh, you poor thing, I know, life is hard. And you think that it's being empathetic and kind. You're just reinforcing their ego. Now, someone like Lester and someone like my teacher, Larry, they didn't go down that route. They didn't baby the ego. In fact, a lot of people are put off by them because they were like, what are you talking about? You think you have a problem? No, you don't. Don't give me that garbage. They're pretty
In your face.
confrontational, to say the least.
They're talking the truth though, but it's
yeah.
hard to hear for the ego.
And see, but if you're courageous,
yeah,
then you'll examine that. And if you get stirred up by that, if you're courageous enough, you'll use it. You'll use whatever bothers you. If you're not courageous, if you'd rather be an ego, then you're like, oh, they just offended me, and you go running away. Right? So to me, those are the best teachers that'll not blow in your ear, but poke you in the eye.
I mean, when I was like, I studied, of course, I know Larry, and we were always a bit afraid of Larry, but Larry was always kind to me because I actually appreciated Larry's bluntness, because he always reminded me a bit of myself or of my dad. It was like, or some of the business leaders that I worked with, and also my clients and I work with a lot of hedge funds and venture capital. They're like in your face, and they say horrible things for the ego. You're like, oh my God, my heart is aching. But actually, you needed to hear that. And they don't fluff it up. But I think really also what is really important is that we don't have to. So it sounds unloving, but it is tough love. Because at one point, you need to be confronted with the sob story, or the I cannot do it is actually I will not do it. Mm-hmm. Because you are so unlimited. And this is where I think, and I realize this is like, we are not accepting how unlimited we are. Every time we come up with a sob story, we're looking for sympathy because it's a strategy to meet some of our needs for attention, love, significance. This is a Tony Robbins model. We're actually giving away our power because it meets our needs on a destructive level, where we're not realizing how powerful we are to actually create this shift, because we're getting our needs met on a lower level, where actually we're not creating what we want. We need other people to jump in and save us, to help us, to mother us. We need to help other people. That makes us feel good. But actually, we're so unlimited. Why would we play this game? So I think really at this point, when we are changing ourselves, our ego, our identification from ego to I'm actually unlimited, then you suddenly start noticing, what are the patterns I'm running to keep other people in this helpless situation where I need to save them, or where I need to be saved. Yeah.
So when you're working like with your children or something, you can only work on yourself. So like if you're worried about your children, it's not their fears or their negativity that's coming across to you. It's your own negativity that's resonating with them. You see? If you're worried, you're fearful about them, that's your fear. And so the best thing you do is work on yourself, let go of your fear, so that regardless of what's going on, you have no fear. And then you can see them as perfect. If you have no fear, you see them as perfect, you as perfect, everybody as perfect and unlimited. You're seeing the truth. And when you're coming from that place, see, that's more loving, because then you see them as a master. You have that picture. Now it's up to them. They can agree with you or not. But again, we all feel each other. So if you're coming from a nice, positive place, it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. You're going to lift them up. And all of us know how to release these tools that we're practicing with this method. It's just a natural ability that we all have. And we all do it, whether we realize it or not, even before we start down any spiritual path. Every single one of us has surrendered and has seen miracles. We all did it. Like when life got so hard and we just threw our hands up and said, I give up. And then immediately it all turned around. See, we can all do it. And we all know how to release. So if you release, even though the other one doesn't know how, they'll just start releasing. They'll even realize it, and they'll change their picture. They'll move up.
So I think David Hawkins, actually in his research, he says that the more people are rising in consciousness, the more we go into love and above, even when we go into willingness, we actually start to affect the energy fields or the consciousness of other people. And there's actually, and the more of us that are working on our own consciousness, the more we are affecting others, because we start to see people and ourselves more from a level of a higher truth than of the level of, oh, there's such victims or they're sick. We actually start to see the truth of every being, including ourselves. And that will affect the way they pick up, how we are responding to what they are creating or what we're co-creating with them, right? And this is so, those of you who are studying with us, we mix and mingle many teachings. This is what Abraham Hicks is saying. This is what Neville Goddard is saying. This is what they teach in Ho'oponopono, which is you are affecting everything. Even though you think you're a little bit powerless, how can you as one person affect this condition in the world, or this disease, or this financial situation, or this company culture, just by you doing the work on yourself and seeing yourself as an infinite being, but also seeing the truth of everybody, which is they are an infinite being. You are going to have an effect on people. And this is really, and Ellen, you and I, we do this work every day, right? Together with Gabriella, we're like every day reminding ourselves, see the truth of everybody, see source, see the infiniteness of ourselves and other beings. And I can say it's such a beautiful process to do, but it does take time. I'm still not there every day, but listening to people like you.
But you've moved very far, haven't you?
I can see my progress just in every interview. I understand more and more because I do the work. Because to be honest, and I will tell all of you here and all of you listening to the replay, it's pretty damn hard and painful to believe your programs. It's so painful. Mm-hmm. It's like the things that we believe when we are in the program. I'm not loved. The world is going to shit. I don't have any power to have a positive impact on the world. Why am I even alive here on this earth? All these people have rejected, abandoned me. People don't care about each other. All these beliefs that we have, do we really have to believe them? Or are we going to say, these are just programs that are stuck in the collective? And I, starting with myself, I'll start to dig up the garbage that I believe in and then see the world in a different way by first working on myself, right? And I think all of us here get that. All of us here understand how powerful we are and how much impact we can have by doing the work on ourselves. I haven't been watching the chats here. Yeah, so Runa is thanking me for confronting his ego. Runa knows me. Whenever he goes into his ego, I say, Runa, snap out of it. How much love do you want for your ego? And I say it lovingly, Runa, because I need to do it for myself. And I always ask people to notice when I'm in my ego, because those are your friends. Your friends are not the ones who are going to talk you back into your victimhood. Your friends are the ones that are going to wake you up, like say, hey, where are we going now? Which direction are we going? To you being a limited being, which is a victim or a saboteur, or are you going to be a victor right now? So are there any questions? Is there anybody who would like to maybe do a piece of work with Kris live? I would be, if any of you are courageous enough, you want to do a piece of work live with Kris, somebody who hasn't worked with Kris before, and you're courageous, you want to work on something, we're going to unmute you. So I'm not going to call people out because people are really upset with me when I just call them out. Anybody, this is your chance to let go of some important garbage. Come on. Yeah, some people are suddenly leaving, Kris. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't see anybody leaving.
No. So Kris, are there some things maybe that Ellen and I haven't touched upon that you think is important in terms of this health thing? Because I can tell you, when I was talking to Ellen about it, I know that when I was trying to heal certain ailments that I had, like autoimmune stuff like psoriasis, oh my God, I cannot tell you how many books I read and how many forums I went into and just filling up more and more my mind with, you should do this, you should not do this, and really just getting stuck in the medical stuff, the science, the matter, what Dr. Joe would call the matter to matter chemical, approach of how to heal this little molecule or how to heal this little atom. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, well, I think that's a problem with medicine in general. Doctors, they study medicine, they study illness,
disease. Yeah.
They don't study health or perfection. And when it comes down to it, you created the body. Yeah. How do you know that the body's real? How do you experience the body? Through your five senses, which are all electrical impulses coming to your brain. Yeah. It's like the movie The Matrix. For all we know, we could be in a pod someplace, thinking that we're walking around in the world.
I'm in multiple pods.
You don't know.
That's true.
Right? So all of this stuff, molecules, all of the, the systems in the body. What if you just made it all up?
It's your gut.
And if you made it all up, then you can change the rules. You can just change it. And you know how it works anyway. You can just correct it if there's something wrong. So we're kind of chasing it from the wrong way when we're trying to understand it through the mind, through medicine. All we had to do is just get nice and quiet. And from our beingness, when we just empty out the mind, it's a place of perfection. And we could just have a perfect picture. I remember when we were talking about this before, I was telling you that I was on a retreat. I had injured my hand. Yes. I thought I'd broken it. And we're like out in like the middle of nowhere. I'm thinking, well, maybe I should go to a medical center or something. But then I started releasing on it. And when we release, it's not about pie in the sky. It's not about, oh, okay, I'm just going to change this picture and the body doesn't exist. For all we know, that's not true. For all we know that the body's real. But we start from what we know, from what we can prove. And I started from where I was at. All right. Right now, I have a lot of pain in my hand. And right now, I have a lot of resistance. And I'm disapproving of the pain. So here, and this is the number one problem that we start off with whenever we have an injury or illness in the body. See, any pain or any symptom, any problem, it's just the body like ringing a doorbell saying, hey, please fix me. There's something wrong here. But how do we answer that door? With disapproval. Oh, I don't like this. I'm in fear. Yeah. Ouch, ouch, ouch. We're disapproving of the pain or the problem. Yeah. So we're taking something that's a pocket of negative energy and we're sending it more negativity.
Yes.
Immediately and automatically. So
we do it a lot with lots of stuff.
Yeah.
The news. Yeah.
So I caught myself, okay, well, I'm going to start with what I do know. That I'm disapproving of it. It's not helping the pain. No. So I'm going to let go disapproving of it and send it approval. Yes. And then I'm going to start moving towards the pain instead of trying to get away from it.
Yeah.
When I did that, then the pain started going away. Yeah. And then I had my ego, the thoughts that say, oh, I got to get away from this. I got to change this. I don't like what happened. And then I started changing those thoughts because how does that help me? To want to change something that I can't change. It already happened. So I started letting that go. And then by this process of releasing, my mind started going quiet. So when we have all these thoughts and feelings about it, it's very difficult to change the picture.
Yeah.
But when I just started with where I'm at, okay, I could change how I feel about it. I can change how I'm thinking about it. And just quiet all that stuff down. Then when the mind is quiet, I started to hold in mind a healthy hand. That's it. And there
before that, your mind was too perturbed.
Yeah. See, well, by all medical accounts, if I went to go to WebMD or go open up a medical book, it'll reinforce, yeah, well, there's something wrong here. That pain means that something tore here or that, it can give me all sorts of information.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me. How does that help me fix it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I have a disease, okay, now that I know I have 4-stage cancer, great. What do I do with that? Okay, what I could do what the doctors say, and their only solution is either medicate me or cut me up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, see, that information didn't help me, but I worked at the baseline, I could see that my reaction to it, that's not helping me either. And that's something that I can control. And I started working on that. And once I saw I can control that, then I could discover that I can actually control the picture. So when my mind is quiet, I could just very easily hold in mind, oh, well, it's healthy. It's fine. And I just got a picture of it being perfect. And within moments, everything just turned around. And
Because you also did it with your tooth, right? Because you told us about this. Yeah.
See, this is how powerful the method is. I mean, you were talking about before, well, it takes time and so on. But it doesn't take time to start seeing results. After I first learned this method, it was like a month later, I was snow skiing in Colorado, and I had plowed into some very deep powder, going down a black slope. I was going very fast, hit some powder, boom, hit the ground. And I braced myself just instinctively. And when I hit the ground, I heard a pop. And I was like, oh, that didn't sound good. And I tried to get up and I couldn't do anything with my arm. And as it turned out, I'd split, from the ball joint, split open the bone.
I hear a lot of these injuries, actually. I know friends with this injury. Yeah.
And so I went down to the medical clinic and the doctor came in and they were just telling me the information that they learned. You see, it's all programmed information. They said, okay, so you broke the bone, we're going to have to immobilize it. And it's going to take up to 12 weeks to heal. And you won't be able to move your arm for all that time. So after it's healed, after 12 weeks, then we're going to take, the sling off. And you won't be able to move your arm. You're going to have to go through physical therapy. And it's going to take about a year for it to go back to normal. Now, I wasn't resisting or rejecting what they said. I was just releasing because it was stirring up feelings. It was stirring up fear, wanting, to control it. I was just letting that go as they're telling me all of that stuff. And just by letting go of my feelings, 2 weeks later, the bone was completely healed.
How long would it normally have taken?
And I had full range of motion, and I was starting to lift weights.
How long would it normally have taken according to the normal?
12 weeks.
12 weeks. So that's
12 weeks. So 2 weeks later, it was healed. And I could totally move my arm. And the doctors and the physical therapists, they didn't know what to think. They're like, whoa, it's a miracle.
Of course it's a miracle.
And like you had mentioned before, I dropped a 15-year smoking habit over a pack a day in just a couple hours, where like I felt nothing, no withdrawal, nothing. It was just like gone, like it never happened.
Because you released all the garbage, all the stuff around which was associated with the smoking.
Yeah, it was something I realized. Because like I said before, all these viruses are from us suppressing our feelings. Yeah. And I saw that that's what I was doing with the smoking. Every time I was smoking is because I had some stress or
of course.
And it was like, okay, let's push that.
I don't want to feel this. Even though I'm releasing.
I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Instead of just running away or suppressing these feelings, I'm just going to bring them up. Now I have a tool to release them. And I did.
Such freedom.
And they all came up. And it was intense. Granted.
Because you're feeling like, all the things you
I was
don't
laying
want
on
to
the bed. It was like a scene from The Exorcism. The Exorcist. For a moment. It was like, ugh. But I was just, I wasn't resisting. I was just letting it come up. And it all left. And it was done with. And then I didn't have to smoke. I had no aversion to it. It was like I could hang around people smoking. Didn't affect me at all.
It gives you so much freedom.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I dropped 50 pounds, like 25 kilos in a month and a half without changing my diet or exercise.
You still have to post those pictures, Kris, because I've seen them, but
Yeah,
other people haven't seen them. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I I fixed, cavities. I fixed all sorts of problems. Using the method because it gives us all the tools.
But it's not just you. You also have seen other people in the
Mhm.
health courses and
Oh
all
yeah.
your years with the release technique of people healing.
I think
Um,
I
yeah.
think, for all the things that we want to change about our lives, from health to finances and so on, that health using this method is probably one of the easiest things to demonstrate change on. I don't know. I think it's just the nature of the method because we start getting loving. And I see people, change their health, and they have really big gains from that very easily. I've seen people, lots of people, stop having to take allergy medications or stop having to take, other medication, blood pressure and so on, very easily. And I've seen people get rid of diseases that are supposed to be incurable, like Parkinson's. Lots of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think somebody said they might want to volunteer, or did I understand it right? Gabriella, do you want to volunteer? Yes, we have a volunteer. Gabriella, give us a good one. Okay, I'm trying to unmute you. Yes.
Hi. Hi, Kris. Congratulations on your beautiful wife. She is absolutely stunning. Sorry, I had to say that because she is so beautiful. So congratulations to both of you. Yeah, I have two, well, actually two. One is my goals, as a financial goal, but the other one is my body. I've been working on my body for so long to actually have the body I want. And I sort of go up and down, but I can't achieve what I really want. Yeah, I, it goes like that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that would be a good one to work on, or the goal one. I think my body one is really, I would love to.
She hardly eats anything as well, so it's a bit of a thing here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But notice that wanting that you have to change your body. And notice how it feels to want. Isn't that a negative feeling? Like a lacking feeling?
Yeah.
Right? And all you have to do is compare, like which feels better, wanting or having.
Having.
Yeah. See, having is easy. Wanting is the problem. But our mind is so ingrained with wanting. That's what we're taught in school. That's what we're taught by a lot of these gurus. Like that wonderful book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
It's like the worst thing ever written, because it's like if you don't have your goals, it's because you're not wanting it enough.
Strong desire. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's about fostering desire. But you could just look at, how awful it feels to want. And that's the nature of the mind. See, it's like those sirens in Greek mythology. And this is the nature of wanting. Just for those of us, we're like, well, I gotta want, how could I not? Well, no, just stop and examine it. You see, the mind, it's like those, like the sirens. It's saying, your happiness is over here. Come over here. Once you have that perfect body, then you're going to be happy. Well, what are you telling yourself in the meantime? Well, until that condition happens, I'm not happy. I can't be happy until the body's perfect. Off in the future, out there somewhere. So now in this present moment, I'm miserable. I'm lacking. You see? And it's, we talk about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is positive attracts positive and negative attracts negative. So if you're holding on to, well, I'm negative in the meantime until that situation allows me to be positive, well, how are you going to change it around? by being negative. You're just going to create negativity. That's why you have the ups and downs. Sometimes you get a little bit positive, but because of the wanting, you go right back into it. So it goes back to what we were talking about before. You had to have just the courage to say, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if my body blows up like a big balloon. I'm going to be happy no matter what. I'm going to be desireless. I'm going to be imperturbable about it, even if it never changes. Now, if I present that idea to you, you're probably like, oh, no way, right? And see, that's just a feeling. That's just your mind. So you got to get practical and say, do I want that bossing me around, telling me whether or not I'm happy? Or do I decide to take my power back and be happy no matter what? Which would you prefer?
Happy no matter what.
Yeah. And see, that's how easy it is to get courageous. It's not a difficult thing. It's actually a very practical decision. And it's natural. You see, when you look at it this way, it's, oh, yeah, of course. So now could you let go of that wanting, since it's just misery? Can you let go of wanting your body to be perfect? Just a little bit. And could you let go of wanting it to be perfect? Just a little bit more.
Yes.
Right? And which feels better, wanting or having? Right? Could you let go of that wanting a little bit more so you could have?
Yes.
And could you let go of wanting the perfect body a little bit more? And could you let go of wanting it a little bit more?
Yes.
And a little bit more. And how does that feel? Does it feel lighter?
It does feel lighter, yeah.
Okay, so you're moving in the right direction. Now, could you let go of wanting your body to be perfect a little bit more? And can you see that as much as you're wanting it, you're disapproving of it? Like you're wanting it to change. So basically you're disapproving of it as it is. How do you expect it to be perfect and nice if you're feeding it negativity like that?
Yeah.
Right? So could you let go of wanting your body to change? And notice what you're holding in mind when you're wanting it to change. Are you holding in mind perfection, or are you holding in mind the problem?
I know. It's the evidence looking in the mirror, Kris.
Yeah, but see, you don't like it.
No.
So for all you know, for all you've proven or what your mind understands, it can't change. You don't have an answer for it. But what you cannot deny is, well, if you're disapproving of what you see in the mirror, how does that help you?
It doesn't.
Is that going to change anything by beating yourself up?
On the contrary.
No. Right? And who's doing it?
Me.
All right. So if you're doing it and it's not helping the situation, now you can make a decision. I'm going to be positive and love myself no matter what, or I'm going to be negative and freak out every time I look at myself in the mirror. Which would you prefer?
Yeah.
All right. So could you let go of disapproving of what you see?
Yes.
And could you let go of disapproving of it some more?
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yeah.
And could you let go of disapproving of it a little bit more?
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And how does that feel?
It feels lighter, and it's almost like a weight off my shoulder. My shoulder relaxed by doing that.
So you're already dropping weight. So now could you give yourself some approval? Just
Oh,
because.
I
Right?
love that picture, Kris. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, no matter what it is, could you just give yourself approval just because it's Friday?
Yeah.
That's all. Could you give yourself a little bit more approval?
Yes.
And could you give yourself a little bit more approval? And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And even more. And how does that feel?
It feels good. I can
Yeah.
almost feel it leaving my body. You know, it's like yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And let's go back to the wanting. Because you see, according to the mind, the way that the mind sees it is that, well, how could things change unless I want it? If I let go of wanting it, it'll never change, right? Isn't that the way the mind understands it?
Yes.
The mind can't comprehend letting go of wanting because it's a wanting machine. But how long have you been wanting to change it?
A long time.
A long time. And you've gotten very good at wanting, haven't you? So as good as you are, and as long as you've been doing it, nothing's changed. Right? So obviously that doesn't work. So since that doesn't work, you got nothing to lose. Could you let go of just wanting it to change now? Can you just drop your desire for it to change? Let that wanting go. Because who's doing the wanting?
Me.
You are. Yeah, you're doing it. So you're in charge. Yeah, just let go of a little bit of wanting now, just in this moment. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to wanting. You know how to do that. And let go of that wanting a little bit more. Just let go of wanting your body to be perfect. And let go of wanting it some more. And let go of wanting it some more. And some more. And some more. And how does that feel?
That feels good.
Yeah. And notice now, is it more possible to have it change
Yeah.
than it was a few moments ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. See? And this shows you when you let go of wanting, you automatically move into having.
Yeah.
And see, that answer didn't come from your mind. It came from beingness. So, yeah. And then the mind doesn't understand it. It never will. But you forget your mind. You just drop the wanting. Like Lester said, you let go of all your desires, be desireless, and then you have everything. Yeah. But you got to prove it. If you listen to your mind, it says, oh, no, I can't do that. If I let go of my desires, I won't have anything. Wrong. But you'll never find out unless you do it. But you do it and you see, oh, yeah, it does work. Now, we have a deep habit. Like you said, you've been wanting a long time and gotten very good at it. So the habit will come back again and again. So you'll see, like you get nice and quiet now. And you let go of some stuff permanently here. You dropped it for good, but there's more down in there. So you have to keep working at it. You have to say, well, if this works, I got to keep digging. It might take a while, but so what? You just keep doing it. And by the way, isn't this nicer and more effortless than where you were a few moments ago? So it might seem like work, but you're actually undoing the work. You just keep doing this and you get lighter, you get happier, your life gets effortless. You're in the course, right? The one we just did. You noticed the difference?
No, I wasn't
Oh,
actually.
you weren't? Oh, okay. I thought you were with us in the wealth course.
No, I am, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of your stuff, so you're very
Mhm.
familiar to me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But everybody who sits down and does the work, we could list out a whole bunch of changes. It's obvious. We move very fast doing the method. So you see it. You see where you're going, and you just keep doing it. And then everything that you're looking for just unfolds. It falls right into your lap.
Even other things, not just my body. So, but when I
It's all
release
connected.
yeah,
It is. So you'll find, like, when you work on your body, your finances improve and your relationships improve. Because it's all, yeah, it's all coming from the same negativity, the same
so
viruses.
I let the weight go, but the money will come in bigger. Yes, I love that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So what I'm realizing is, like, listening to this is like a lot of wanting is actually really coming from a lot of self-judgment. A lot of things that we want are is us listening to the program. I don't have this. This means I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful. I'm not, successful. And that is what keeps us trapped in the identity of wanting. And we sort of pursue it like a holy grail. Like, that's why it's so hard to let go of the wanting, because we believe that what else is going to motivate me? Right? If I don't want it, am I going to be this loser? Am I going to be this fat person, this sick person, this whatever person that's not unloved, even by myself? And actually, it's the reverse. It's when we let go of the wanting. This is the big teaching, is like you become more aligned with the true you. And the true you can have everything because it's unlimited. Again, I think I should put it on my forehead. I am unlimited, because it's like something I need to remind myself every day, because the minds keep telling me, no, you're not. You're limited,
Because happiness is unlimited.
Yeah.
And all that wanting is looking for happiness out there.
Yeah.
When you stop looking for it out there, you find it where it is. You find
And you
out
can
that it's
give
been
it.
inside of you all this time. Like I said earlier, like every time we satisfy a desire, it's only because, when we feel happy, it's only because our mind gets quiet for a moment. It's no longer seeking that thing. It shuts up for a moment. And then we feel happy. We're feeling ourself. That's where all our happiness is. It's just
Our
ourself.
true self, our
When
true
we stop
self.
looking for it out there,
Yeah.
we say, oh, it's been here all along. And along with that comes all the power to manifest whatever we want.
And Kris, I know which teachings you've studied, but all of us here, most of us have studied multiple teachers, and all of them say the same. It's just you can take different techniques. There's different techniques for every of the, which is this true core, becoming ourselves, finding the way back home, and no longer being deluded by the programs that's saying, no, you're not there yet. No, you have to do all of this work for, I don't know, multiple years, multiple lifetimes even, or you're not even worthy because your karma, your astrology, blah, 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 And it's really about dropping all of those stories and saying, no, I'm unlimited and I can achieve it even within this lifetime. And even like heal bones that according to doctors are, not going to be healable. And actually a lot of us are in the Dr. Joe community. We've seen so many so-called medical miracles, because people actually, literally, science cannot define what's possible. And I think this is the thing. The science is just as limited as the mind, right? Because when we see all these medical miracles happen, they're actually not even miracles. They're just what is possible. But we think it's miraculous because our mind has given us a picture of what we think is normal. But this is why we need to defy the norm. We need to go beyond the norm and create a new normal. So, Kris, could you maybe tell us? I mean, I've been in some of the health courses when you were a mentor with the release technique, and I've never been in one of your health courses. So, what happens in the 6 to 7 weeks of the health course? Could you give us an outline?
Well, we're going to be working on a lot of practical aspects of fixing the body. And using a number of tools, like we kind of touched upon here, but this is just kind of scratching the surface, what we've been talking about so far. And we're going to be working on goals. So we're going to, work on, like, if you come into the course, you could bring in to the table what it is that you want to work on. If it's a, health issue, body weight issue, and, we're going to be working to achieve your goal. Now, we're also going to work at different levels of this, practical levels, changing your feelings and your behavior, as well as working from the top And while we're working on the body, ultimately, what we're working on is ourselves. And ultimately, letting go of identifying with the body. Because as we identify with our beingness more, then that just naturally puts us in charge of our body. Then all this work that we're working on the body, it happens so much faster and more instantly. So that's the major goal of this, is to step up, to be ourselves, identify with our beingness only. Now, in order to do that, we're going to confront some big stuff, like a lot of our addictions to the world. There's a lot of stuff that we're holding on to that's stringing us along. You know, like addictions like cigarettes and smoking, alcohol, things like that. But also addictions like coffee and sugar, gluten, things that, you know, we got to have. And as long as we're addicted to these things, we think that we enjoy them, but we're a slave to them. So we're going to work on freeing ourselves, and that's going to give us a major boost to being free. And by dropping these things, we're going to see how fast it is to drop these things. And we're going to see how much more present and happier we are in the moment. And it's not like we're renouncing these things. We actually have more freedom in both ways, because like anything that we're addicted to, you know, we enjoy it, but we're also beating ourselves up or judging ourselves, and we're criticizing ourselves, like, you know, we're guilty about it. Oh, this isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this. And that actually holds back our enjoyment of it. So when we free ourselves, we're actually able to enjoy these things more fully, but also we could just drop them like that. Like, I can never do it again, and I'm free to not do that. So it's like real freedom and happiness. So, you know, we're going to be working at lots of levels, very practically, but also from the top.
Can you say something about, you know, what's going on in the world right now, and us all wearing mouth mask and, you know, fearing this virus, and how the release you know, this releasing and this working with the pictures in our mind and the pictures of the world, and what, you know, all the various sources of information, we all get very confused about what the virus is about, etc., and our immune system. How could the health course actually help us right now?
Well, the way that my teacher, Larry, put it when he first met Lester said to him two things that shocked him. First thing he said to him was, there's no such thing as a germ. And that blew his mind, because Larry was a hypochondriac. The way he put it is that if you sneezed over the phone, he'd catch a cold from the other end. And the other thing that Lester said was that work is for slaves.
Yeah, I know that.
Working is a slave consciousness.
Yes.
And you don't have to work for a living. You can have all the abundance. And Larry, at that time, he was very successful. He was a multimillionaire, but he was working 16 hours a day to get it done. Now, when Lester told him these things, he said, well, if he's wrong, I don't lose anything. You know, nothing changes, right? I got nothing to lose. But if he's right, then maybe I can drop all of these illnesses, and maybe I can stop having to work like a dog. And so he just explored. You know, he took it for checking. He said, well, let's try it out and see what I can prove. And he proved it to himself. And so I listened to that. And that's been my approach. It's not what you say, it's what you can prove, what you can actually demonstrate. And so in what I've done with releasing, I know for a fact that there is no such thing out there as a virus or a germ. And so when all this stuff is going around, I just release. And I've been around people that caught the virus. My wife caught it, and it affected me not at all. And so,
Yes.
yeah, so, you know, when you're releasing, you just have a completely different picture. You have to buy into all that stuff.
And I think if we
You
buy
know, if
into
wearing a
it,
mask makes other people happy, so what? Okay, I'll wear a mask. But I'm
I
not doing
think,
it out
yeah,
of fear, and I have
yes.
no fear of ever catching anything.
I think this is the thing. Our reality is very multi-dimensional. There are many realities out there because we're all making our beliefs true. So somebody who believes that the virus can kill them or can affect them, it will be true for them because that is what you are definitely creating. And a lot of us are creating out of fear and out of resistance and out of lower levels of identification with the body and with the programs of what is the disease, what is reality, how can we heal, how long does it take us to heal, what type of vaccines do we need, blah, 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 blah. Whereas people who are proving to themselves that they can out transcend the programs of what we believe is reality, what we believe is a disease, what we believe is the body, what we believe is truth about how our consciousness affects matter, meaning something that can kill our body for when we're in a different level of consciousness. That's the real work. And that is, I think, really, this is the matrix, this is the red pill. Mm-hmm. Taking the red pill or not. And I think definitely if you believe there's a virus, it will be true. And if you believe there's a virus, but you are imperturbable and you can die and you're okay, and you can get it and be okay, and you cannot get it because you don't really pay attention to it, that's also true. And I really believe that that is ultimately how we all have our freedom, how we can all create multiple realities and try and fight about it with each other. My reality, no, your reality. No, I'm the truth. No, it doesn't really matter. Choose the one that works for you. Choose the one that empowers you. Choose the one that makes you healthy and thriving instead of living in survival and living in fear and having to check up on, I don't know how many news bulletins about what's going on with like something out there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that scene in The Matrix when they're in the dojo sparring and Morpheus asks, "You think that's air you're breathing right now?" And there are yogis.
There is no spoon, Kris.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yogis that don't have to breathe. Yeah. They go for long periods without taking a breath.
I've read about these monks. Greg Braden spoke about it. There were these monks that can actually lower their heart rate to such an extent that people think they're dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and yeah, about these people who are breatharians. They're breatharians right now in the world.
And Yogananda, he had left his body, and then they had buried it. And I'm not sure if it was like 10 years. It's like quite a while later. They opened up his casket. His body did not deteriorate one bit. It was just like it was perfectly fresh as when they put it in there.
Wow. Wow. I want this secret for anti-aging, Kris.
Yeah. And see, Lester pointed out, what is the body? It's just like any other matter on this planet. It's just carbon. There's no life to it. The only life is the life that we give it. It's our consciousness. So if we identify with our beingness, then we see where the life really is. And yeah, the rest of it just takes care of itself.
Yeah. I want to say again, we are affiliates of Kris because we love Kris's work. And I still do releasing, regularly, like especially if I notice there's garbage in me and I'm caught up in the mind or the ego or wanting or resisting. And so, and Kris has been so generous to give the people that are in a community the 21-day course, which is almost $300 for free when you actually sign up with this affiliate link, when you actually purchase one of his programs. So the next program is the health program. What's the one coming up after that, Kris? Do you know?
Well, in October, it's going to be overlapping this course a little bit, but we're doing something really special. I've got an old friend of mine. He's a releaser too, but he's a trader, and he's been trading for over 36 years. He started off on the London Stock Exchange floor, and he's worked for all sorts of investment brokers and companies and so on. And he's taken every class about it, and he's distilled all the knowledge and also through his experience. But one of the most important factors is when he came along 10 or 15 years ago and learned how to release, that had a huge impact on him. And in that first month after learning how to release, his profits quadrupled. Mm-hmm. So he is amazing. He just works personally. He just does his own personal investments, and he does things like he started his own oil lease. But he allowed me a couple years ago to kind of piggyback on his accounts, and through him, his return is doubling every 3 years.
You manifested that, Kris.
And he sometimes hits these really fast trades. Like we just started one here that's a 16% return in just 2 weeks, with this crazy market that's going on right now.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he shows me charts. So he just nails them every point.
Through intuition, through releasing.
Weeks and months in advance. And through releasing, he sees, everything, is mathematically calculable. So basically, we're doing a class. He's going to show us everything that he's learned. And it's not just going to be one class. It's going to be the start of several classes that we're going to be doing, because he wants to take all this experience and all this knowledge and know-how that he's gathered over these years. And he says, if I die tomorrow, I want to have something I can leave my kids so that they can do what I do. I want to share this with others. So that's what we're doing. It's really exciting.
Amazing. So we definitely want to interview you and him about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe in financial abundance and also passive income, or, just not like working like slaves, actually. Yeah. So, but yeah, we have put in the chat, and we'll also put it in our social media, the link, the affiliate link, where you can basically sign up for the newsletter for Kris, and then you'll be tracked. So whenever you buy, you decide to buy any one of his courses, you'll get the 21-day course for free. You need to start working with that so that you're prepared, because all the trainings that Kris is doing are advanced courses, and you need to go through 21 days, at least, maybe half of them.
Just get started on it. That's what most of the people that jumped into the last course did. They got a head start, and all of it did so great.
Yeah, because releasing isn't that complicated. It's just that you need to get used to it, that you don't go into the mind. You actually start releasing instead of going into the mind and into the programs. So,
so the 21-day course gives you all the tools, everything.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's like such a classic. And you have access to the course for the rest of your life. And I can tell you, every time you do a 7-week course, you have 28 hours of releasing on audio, right? And it's Kris's energy. Just listening to Kris sometimes just calms you down. But definitely you get the workbooks, and you have them for the rest of your life. So, and I think you do most courses once a year, right? So if people really have a health issue, they might have to wait.
Time to do it. Sure.
This would be the time to do it in a group, because you can always go to Kris and buy it, but then you won't be in a group. You won't have a release partner. And I think having the release partner and having the accountability is really the name of the game. So Ellen,
direct support if you need anything. I'm available, and I'll work with you offline.
Yes.
Ellen, I'd like to add that for me, I was like, the body and health course for me, I don't need it. I have the body I like, and I'm always healthy. But then yesterday I got a cold sore, which is caused by a virus, they say. So I'm like, oh yeah, there's, I think everyone has a little something or something, even if it's at the moment, maybe not as prevalent. But so yeah, I just wanted to share that for people who are thinking, oh, I'm fine, I don't have anything. But there's sometimes things that pop up a couple times a year that maybe is something you'd like to work on. So I wanted to add that. I thought it was an amazing call. It's just, I loved seeing the releasing with Gabriella, because it's very relatable. And I love listening to you, Kris. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to be here with y'all.
And thank you so much, Gabriella, because actually I was releasing along, because to be honest, I suddenly started losing a lot of weight, not even thinking about it, not even trying to push myself into it. And it really is true. When you want it, it won't happen. And when you don't think about it, it sort of happens for me automatically. But what I was releasing along with is all the wants we have. We have so many wants. And then we start judging, we hold in mind what we don't want. It's just the classic teachings of the technique is like making you realize that wanting creates lack in your mind. It creates lack in your consciousness. And it's actually when we become loving, that's when we are more, imperturbable and more unattached and more welcoming whatever is. And then suddenly we find ourselves in a state of, I can have it. Yeah, why not? Instead of, why is it not here? I'm judging myself. I must be doing something wrong and blah, blah, blah. And it can happen in minutes. Yeah. So, but to really get the long-term results, to go free, as we say it, and to go free is to mean that you know that you can have everything. You are everything. You are connected to everybody and everyone. And so it's our job here to realize ourselves, to really become the real us. And and although it doesn't seem very sexy because you think, but I like myself, but actually we're just eliminating a lot of limiting beliefs. Thank you for reminding us we're unlimited. Thank you.
You are.
I'm going to put it on my hourly alarm. You are unlimited. You are. So thank you so much, everybody. We're going to post the link for Kris, his newsletter, and to join his course. And thank you so much again, Kris. And let us know when we can interview you about this trading and this new financial course. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be putting more information up.
Okay. Lots of love, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.